This weekend is indeed an emotional one for us as an African family in America, with the movie Michael hitting the theaters, starring Jafar. That's Michael's nephew that looks so much like him. Indeed, blood is thicker than water. Kudos to Jackson Estates for a job well done. This is indeed a Black legacy, and we're proud. Of course, there are always questions to be asked and lessons to be learned. Some people asked, if Michael came from another family, would he still be alive today? And others countered and said, okay. They asked, if Michael came from another family, would he even become this Michael Jackson that we know of? Would his talents and skills be discovered and celebrated? I will leave you with those thoughts to process. Tell us what you think in the comment section. And welcome once again to today's episode. We welcome our new subscribers. Thank you so much. And our returning subscribers, we appreciate you. So for today, as in our conversation today, we want to look at some of the struggles the American society had to go through to become the America of today. When one looks at what the Black families went through in this environment, especially when it was very hostile, more hostile than it is, what they went through to rise to where they are today, we just need to celebrate these our ancestors here for fighting to the top. You see, that's why we believe that those of us in Nigeria and Africa need to do better. We dey play too much. We are not serious. That's what we say. We dey play too much. Our play too much. If the Black families here were busy being ignorant of their situation or allowing wicked churches to brainwash them into believing nonsense, do you think America will be what it is today, that is so friendly to accommodate even some of us from Africa? Do you think? Do you think you will want to be in America? Do you think you want this America will be a place everybody will want to become part of if they didn't fight? Especially those of you from Africa. People made those things happen. What you are enjoying today, people worked for them. The civil rights movements, the alliances that were formed and built among people with similar mindsets, including the Hispanics and other immigrants who saw what the Black families were going through. They came together and worked with them. Go look at what they went through. Go read books. Study history. Watch movies. Search. Get information. So that you'll be properly informed of what they say. The legacy of the civil rights movements is what successfully shaped the modern American politics that we're seeing today. Of course, the battle was not easy. They were threatened by persistent systemic racism, but they never gave up. They fought through. They fought their way through. There was voters' suppression. In fact, they were even denied from voting. They denied them their voting rights, but they persisted. There were economic and health disparities, which are still going on today. Their communities were marginalized. They didn't turn around to begin to celebrate their oppressors. Rather, they persisted. Of course, the judicial system was completely against them. There was unequal justice, but that did not deter them. Are we talking about persistent racial inequality? Anywhere they turned, they saw inequality. But did that make them to lose sight of their target? No. They kept on fighting. Are we talking about wealth disparities? Significant gaps in wages, gaps in everything, unequal hiring processes, school segregation, a legacy of unequal access to education. It did not stop them. It did not make them to give up on acquiring knowledge, training, and skills. Strong political polarization did not make them to begin to believe the lies and propaganda of the enemy. There were policies against racial progress. Even their businesses were destroyed, but they kept fighting. If one door closes, they will open another door. Even if it means opening a window, they kept moving. They fought for equity, including fighting against those dismantling policies aimed at achieving equity. They fought them too. So what excuses do we have in Africa and Nigeria for not fighting colonialism to a standstill? For not fighting the colonialism that took away our sovereignties, assets and resources as indigenous peoples and ethnic nationalities? What excuses do we have?
The benefits, until people go to the genesis of the insecurity, we will not have a solution. That is the genesis of the insecurity in Nigeria. It started, I keep quoting, I've quoted it so many times. Others have also quoted it, not me alone. In 1960, just barely 5 months after Nigeria got independence in October, in October, I think it was 12th October 1960, the late Sadauna of Sokoto, Alhaji Samadu Bello, he said that this new nation, Nigeria, that was the word he used, should be an estate of our great-grandfather, Usman Dan Fodio. And we should never allow a change of power. He continued, the northern minorities we shall use as stepping stones, and the south we shall use as conquered territory, and we shall never allow them to rule over themselves. This ambition of the Fulanis to overrun Nigeria with their brand of Islam, which does not allow of religious tolerance, even within the Islamic faith itself, with a particular brand of Islam, so that if you don't believe in that brand of Islam, you are to be killed. Because even Yoruba Muslims, Yorubas were Muslims before Dan Fodio came to Nigeria. Islam in Yoruba land is older than Islam in the north. But we didn't take Yoruba didn't take the Islam from the north. Islam came to Yoruba land through a different route, and it predated that of the north. Even they regard Yoruba Muslims as infidels, because Yoruba Muslims are tolerant. In Yoruba land, we are very tolerant of religious differences. In families in Yoruba land, we have Muslims, we have Christians coexisting. living together, celebrating together. That is our own brand of Islam. So because of that, the Fulanis regard all of us, Christian and Muslim, as infidels. Because if you are a true Muslim, you are not supposed to live happily with a Christian. You are supposed to kill them. So I'm saying that those of us who think we are targets to be killed, to be killed by the same people who say they are the same country with us, we have a right to say no. We want to a place where we can live our own life peacefully. Without being afraid to go to bed at night, that some people might come and burn our villages and kill us and rape our women. So that is why I don't blame people who are agitating for Yoruba nation, for Igbo nation, for all sorts of other things, because we are all confronted by the same terror, the same terrorism that is now ravaging Nigeria, which is based on this Fulanization agenda.
Allow me to elaborate with my answer. There are 1.2 billion Muslims in the world today. Of course, not all of them are radicals. The majority of them are peaceful people. The radicals are estimated to be between 15 to 25% according to all intelligence services around the world. That leaves 75% of them peaceful people. But when you look at 15 to 25% of the world Muslim population, you're looking at 180 million to 300 million people dedicated to the destruction of Western civilization. That is as big of the United States. So why should we worry about the radicals, 15 to 25%? Because it is the radicals that kill. Because it is the radicals that behead and massacre. When you look throughout history, when you look at all the lessons of history, most Germans were peaceful. Yet the Nazis drove the agenda. And as a result, 60 million people died, almost 14 million in concentration camps, 6 million were Jews. The peaceful majority were irrelevant. When you look at Russia, most Russians were peaceful as well. Yet the Russians were able to kill 20 million people. The peaceful majority were irrelevant. When you look at China, for example, most Chinese were peaceful as well. Yet the Chinese were able to kill 70 million people. The peaceful majority were irrelevant. When you look at Japan prior to World War II, most Japanese were peaceful as well. Yet Japan was able to butcher its way across Southeast Asia, killing 12 million people, mostly killed with bayonets and shovels. The peaceful majority were irrelevant. On September 11th in the United States, we had 2.3 million Arab Muslims living in the United States. It took 19 hijackers, 19 radicals to bring America down to its knees, destroy the World Trade Center, attack the Pentagon, and kill almost 3,000 Americans that day. The peaceful majority were irrelevant. It is time we take political correctness and throw it in the garbage where it belongs and stop calling it.
What excuses are we going to give to our children and the next generation for abandoning our ancestral homelands to Fulani invaders? What excuses do we have? See, people like to go where they've already fixed. I hear people, oh, which visa do I need? Where do I go? I need to get their paper. I need to do that. People build those places. And that is why we are calling on all the indigenous ethnic nationalities trapped in the colonial system called Nigeria, in that backward unitary system. Instead of having a true federal system where all the indigenous ethnic nationalities will be free to live the type of life they want to live, aspire to whatever height they want to. You embraced a unitary constitutional system, tying your hands and legs together, keeping you backward in 2026. So backward that your children are accepting to swim through Mediterranean Sea. Do you know the trauma? Walk through deserts, going to places unheard of, and you think all is well. All is not well. So we need to learn from our Black Americans here to find out what they did. How did they do it? How did they succeed? And then learn one or two things from them. Thank you.